Creating a webtoon can feel like a mountain-high challenge, but Clip Studio Paint turns many complicated steps into a workflow that is not only manageable, but genuinely fun and efficient. Whether you are starting your very first episode or looking to speed up your workflow, and whether you prefer a traditional webtoon style or want to experiment with the creative possibilities of the vertical format, this guide walks you through Clip Studio Paint's tools and features to help you focus on what matters most: enjoying the creative process. Canvas tips. Canvas size. Because Clip Studio Paint automatically resizes and slices your webtoon during export, the only dimension you need to decide at the beginning is the canvas width. Webtoon platforms clearly specify their maximum image width. For example, Topaz allows up to 940 pixels, while Webtoon allows 800 pixels. I recommend working at twice the final output width to keep your art crisp and ready for future printing. In my case, I work at 1880 pixels wide, which is twice Topaz's maximum width. Canvas height depends on your preferences and your computer's performance. Although the technical maximum is 50,000 pixels, starting with 10,000 or 20,000 pixels is far more comfortable. You can easily adjust the height later using tools introduced further in this guide. Page management, X only. The X version offers excellent tools for managing pages within a project. When creating a new project, select Webtoon as the project type and define your canvas size and page divisions. You can start with a single page and add, duplicate, delete, or reorder pages later using the right-click menu. Pages can be dragged to reorder them, and double-clicking opens the canvas. Templates and presets. Setting up layers and folders repeatedly can be tedious, especially when using layer colors or border effects. You can either copy and paste prepared layer folders between canvases and delete their contents, or create a clean file of any size with your preferred layer structure and register it as a template through Edit, Register Material, Template. This ensures every new page starts with the correct structure and effects. You can also save your project settings as a custom preset so all chapters remain consistent in size and structure. Adjusting canvas length easily. During storyboarding, worrying about panel spacing can interrupt your creative flow. The Extend and Crop tools, found under Edit, Change Canvas Height, allow you to add or remove space later. The Extend tool inserts space below a chosen line, while the Crop tool removes selected areas and pulls everything below upward. Both tools are fully undoable and ideal for refining pacing after storyboarding. Maximize your workspace. Clip Studio Paint allows you to save different workspace layouts. For webtoons, the Navigator palette is particularly useful, as it lets you jump between panels quickly and track the entire canvas. To gain more vertical space, use Shift-Tab to hide interface bars. I keep them hidden most of the time and rely on keyboard shortcuts to speed up my workflow. Preview chapter. The View on-screen area preview simulates smartphone viewing but only works within a single canvas. If you have Clip Studio Paint on your smartphone, you can connect it in companion mode to preview the entire chapter seamlessly and in real time, which is perfect for adjusting the flow of your story by adding and erasing space between your panels. Easy paneling. The Frame Border tool creates masked folders for panels. You can either keep each panel's content separate or set the tool to add frames to a selected folder, allowing all panels to share common layers. I prefer the latter because it reduces the number of layers and makes global edits much easier. This is a simplified structure of my Webtoon file. Keeping backgrounds, characters, frames, and text organized across all panels ensures visual consistency and efficient revisions. You can find many more tips on frame border tools and how to adjust your panels to give your Webtoon a unique touch in my mind-saving tips for Webtoon paneling tutorial. Efficient drawing tips. Make the most of vector lines. Vector layers and advanced brush stabilization make smooth line art much easier. You can draw confidently without constant undoing, and adjust pressure and stabilization to suit your style. Correction tools. Vector layers allow easy cleanup using tools like the Vector Eraser, Pinch, and Simplify tools. You can even sketch directly on vector layers and refine them into finished line art without redrawing. The Correct Line Width tool adjusts line thickness, thicken areas in shadow and thin lines hit by light to create depth in your line art. 3D figures. 3D drawing figures help maintain consistent proportions and spacing, especially in complex scenes. You can customize and save character body shapes and apply downloaded poses. I often use the 3D figures to keep track of the character's height in group scenes and to avoid overlaps in complex scenes like inside a car or on a sofa. If you're short on time, try using the 3D figures as character bases for your comic without having to trace or shade them. Full guide in my 3D to 2D without tracing or shading tutorial. From version 4 you can also paint on the figures to keep track of their clothes details and other features, as well as a base for character art. More details and tips in my painting on 3D figures tutorial. Coloring and shading tricks. Reference layers. Setting your line art folder as a reference layer allows fill tools to detect boundaries automatically, saving lots of clicking. Character sheet in subview. Using a character sheet in the subview palette makes color picking fast and intuitive without the need for swatches. Quick color fill. I use a customized enclose and fill tool, available in my assets, with the line art folder set as the reference. It fills complex shapes with minimal cleanup. Shading and rendering. The lasso fill tool is excellent for blocking in shadows. Switching between color and transparency lets you refine shading quickly, creating crisp cell shading or a base for softer rendering. You can find many more tricks in my WEBTOON coloring and shading tutorial. Text and balloons. Story editor. The X version's story editor allows you to manage dialogue efficiently. Paste a whole text file, divide the text into chunks for each bubble, find and replace text and more. Select the lines with Control-click and drag them to reorder and distribute them to pages. The feature automatically places text layers onto pages. Speech bubbles. Balloon tools automatically attach bubbles to text, making them easy to edit together. The balloon tail tools add tails when dragged outside the balloon. It adds a regular tail. When dragged inside, it contracts from the balloon for off-screen speech. Since balloons are vector-based, you can adjust their shape with the correct line tools, line thickness, and brush style to enhance emotion and personality. Brushes, image materials and 3D objects. Don't give up on a cool accessory or an object just because they're hard to draw repeatedly. Clip Studio Paint has great tools to help. Decorative brushes for detailed accessories, image materials for things like smartphone screens or pendants, and 3D models save time while maintaining quality. 3D models. I suck at drawing technical stuff and frankly would have never tried making my current webtoon where a car is prominent if it wasn't for Clip Studio Paint's features for including 3D objects in your art. Vehicles, buildings and props can be found in the Assets library or import your own 3D objects. Adjust camera, lighting, and perspective. Check the final section of my webtoon coloring tutorial for quick ways to integrate 3D objects into your scene. Rasterize a copy of the 3D layer for final touches with tools like Liquify, Puppet Warp, or Mesh Transform to add dynamic distortions in your action scenes. Use file objects and layer comps for rich backgrounds. Instead of redrawing detailed backgrounds for every panel or using a plain gradient to save time, paint the whole scene's background in a separate file and save individual planes as layer comps. Import the file as a file object and assign different layer comps to each duplicate of the file object layer. Scale and position the object layers as needed to create depth and perspective. This creates depth, consistency, and visual richness with far less effort. You can find more info and tips on layer comps in my specialized tutorial. Effects. Clip Studio Paint offers a wide variety of tools for all kinds of effects, from focus lines and speed lines to emotional emphasis. I made a separate video focused on using tools like saturated line, rulers, special brushes and unconventional tools to creatively express motion and emotion in your comic. Exporting and publishing. When your episode is complete, use File, Special Export, Export WEBTOON. Aside from the file format and compression quality, you can set the output size width and the vertical division height according to platform requirements. Clip Studio Paint automatically resizes and slices your work. For WEBTOON Canvas creators, direct uploading from within the software further simplifies the publishing process. Conclusion. Give these smart tools a try, and you'll be surprised by how easy making a WEBTOON can be. By letting Clip Studio Paint handle the technical hurdles, You free up time and energy for storytelling and expression, because enjoying the creative process is what matters most.